I have a question for you. Why did Peter get out of the boat? I know, kind of an odd question. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to ask you again. Think about this. Why did Peter get out of the boat? Many of you know this story, even if you weren't raised in church or don't know much about the Bible. It's a fairly common story. Peter walking on water with Jesus. And so as I read this story out of Matthew 14, that's the first place you can turn, is Matthew 14, verses 22 to 33. We're going to read through it. I want you to contemplate, why did Peter get out of the boat? He was the only one who did. Why did he get out of the boat? The background of this story is this, that Jesus has just fed 5,000 men plus women and children with simply 2 fish and 5 loaves that he multiplied. A phenomenal miracle. Peter had just witnessed this miracle. And the people were being sent away. It was late. And so we'll pick up the story in Matthew chapter 14, starting in verse 22. It says, immediately after the people were fed, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. So he dismissed them. He said, teaching time is done. And after he sent the multitudes away, Jesus went up to the mountain by himself to pray. And when it was evening, he was there alone. But the boat was already many stadia away from the land, so it was not near the shore. It was out in the middle of the Sea of Galilee, battered by the waves, for the wind was contrary. The storms in that region were brutal, and they were in the middle of one. And in the 4th watch, somewhere between 3 a.m. in the morning and 6 a.m. in the morning, so likely pitch dark or very dark, Jesus came to them walking on the sea. Amazing. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were frightened, saying, "It is a ghost." And they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid." Take courage. Those are 2 great words for us today. Take courage, brothers and sisters. Take courage. But Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me or bid me to come to you on the water." Bold ask. Oh, Peter, impetuous Peter. Good for you, brother. Good for you. And he said, or Jesus said to Peter, "Come." And Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came toward Jesus. Can you picture this? Imagine the other 11 watching. Their eyes are as big as saucers. They're monsters. I mean, they're just, eyes are bugging out. But, verse 30, seeing the wind, and I would insert there probably 4, 5, 6, 7 foot waves. He became afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and took hold of him and said to him, "Oh, you of little faith, Pete, why did you doubt? You're doing so good. It was exciting to watch you walking on the water, brother." I don't think the Lord scolded him. I think the Lord chuckled. And I think the Lord kind of gave him a little jab saying, "Bud, you were doing so good. You're doing so good. You of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, so obviously Jesus grabs his hand, pulls him out of the water. That's amazing in and of itself. Peter was not a small man, I'm sure. And they walk back to the boat together, climb over the side with the other disciples. And it says, and those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, "You are certainly God's Son." What a story. What a story. So back to the question then. Why did Peter get out of the boat? Why would a sane man, unless he had a death wish, get out of the boat in the middle of the night, in the middle of the lake, in the middle of a raging storm? Why would he do such a thing? And the answer I believe absolutely in the passage is this. He did it to get to a person. He did it for a person. A person. Peter's life, if you read in Luke chapter 5, had so been rocked by Jesus. Jesus had wrought a miracle for Peter in Luke chapter 5 when Peter had fished all night as a professional fisherman. Jesus said, listen, Peter, let's go out into the lake and let's do some more fishing. Peter condescended and said, Lord, I fished all night. We got nothing. There's nothing here. Dry as a bone. But if you say so, we'll do it. And Peter throws his nets overboard and they can't hardly handle all the fish. And Peter says, he drops on the floor of the boat in front of Jesus and says, Lord, get away from me. I am an evil man. Inference, I'm in the presence of someone who is so superior to me. Get away from me, Lord. I don't want to soil you with my dirt. And Jesus wasn't intimidated a bit. And he said, Peter, I'm going to teach you how to catch men. Come follow me. And Peter quit his job on the spot and began to follow Jesus. His life was transformed. And when he saw Jesus walking on that water that night, he had just fed 10,000 people potentially with women and children. All of those things came to a head, and Peter said, I'm not staying in the boat. I've got to go to Jesus. I've got to get to Jesus. And he was willing to do something so uncomfortable and so crazy, not because he had a death wish or because he was just a nut job, but because of a person. Brothers and sisters, our Christian life is not about a movement. It's not about a philosophy. It's not about a denomination or a church or a religion. It is firmly and specifically about a person. Jesus. And if we ever lose focus, as Peter did, we will instantly begin to sink.